How's it going, everybody? Hope everyone is doing well. My name is Jason, and in today's video, we're going to be previewing and predicting Week 16 of the 2023 CFL season. The playoff race is heating up, so let's get into it. So starting us off, Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, we have the 6-7 Saskatchewan Roughriders visiting the 3-10 Ottawa Redblacks, and I think this is a very interesting game because if Saskatchewan somehow loses this game, it really opens up the door for other teams to potentially hop them in the standings as we go forward in the coming weeks here. Now, the players that I'm watching for in this one, linebacker Larry Dean for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, going to be a key guy in terms of shutting down Ottawa's run game in this one. Just a very active linebacker back there, and I think he's a very important player for the Saskatchewan Roughriders team in general. And then for Ottawa, I'm going with a player that's really on a heater lately, and that's running back Devontae Williams, who has played really, really well the last several weeks. And I think, last week against BC, had a very nice game. A couple weeks ago against Hamilton, he really tore the Ticats' run defense up. So let's see if he can do the same to Saskatchewan's run defense in this one. Again, Larry Dean going to be trying to stop him in this one. Now, in terms of who is going to win this game, as I said, I think there's still a possibility for Ottawa to win this game and, Saskatchewan to kind of go on a skid here at the end of the season. So this is a really important game for Saskatchewan to win here. I think they're ultimately going to do it. I'm going to pick Saskatchewan to win 31-25 on the road in Ottawa and, get that much closer to a playoff berth. Now moving on to the second game of the week, 9:30 p.m. on Friday night, we have the 9-4 BC Lions visiting the 4-10 Edmonton Elks. And I mean, with the way that these two teams have played this season, you think BC would be able to just run roughshod over the Edmonton Elks, given that both of the games that we've seen between these two teams this season, BC has actually shut out Edmonton. But this is a very, very different Edmonton team we're talking about, and I think this is a team that's very dangerous right now and could beat almost any team in the CFL on any given week, given the way that they're winning games right now. So I think this is a potential upset alert game here for BC. They're going to have to come in prepared and ready to play Edmonton, because Edmonton's looking for their third straight home win after losing 22 home games in a row before that. So I think Edmonton's fired up. They're playing really good football right now, so I'm really excited to see how this game plays out. In terms of the players I'm watching for in this one, wide receiver Dominic Rhymes is reportedly going to be back in the lineup for the BC Lions. He is really one of those true difference-making receivers in the CFL. Was off to a great start this season before injuries kind of plagued his season so far. So it's good to see him get back into the lineup and hopefully reestablish himself as one of the best receivers in the CFL this week. And then for Edmonton, his defensive back Marcus Lewis, who's had a really strong season back there in a very inexperienced Edmonton secondary. He, of course, is inexperienced himself, but he certainly has not played like it this season. I think he's been one of their better players on defense. So I think in terms of who is going to win this game, I kind of alluded to it in the beginning that this is kind of an upset alert kind of game. I am actually going to take the Edmonton Elks to upset the BC Lions in this one, 31-30. I just think the Elks have something going right now. They're running the football very, very well. BC's defense does not have the same fear factor that they had earlier in the season where they got those two shutouts versus Edmonton. And I think that Vernon Adams, he's starting to pile up the turnovers as well. So I'm really interested to see how he plays in this one. But yeah, I think it could go either way, but I'm going to take Edmonton with the upset here. 31-30. Now moving on to Saturday's doubleheader at 4 p.m. Eastern, we have the 6-7 Montreal Alouettes visiting the 4-9 Calgary Stampeders in another very important game for the CFL standings. I'll have a video out in a couple hours from when I post this one going over all the playoff scenarios, so be sure to watch that one as well, guys. The players that I'm watching for in this game between Montreal and Calgary, linebacker Darnell Sankey for the Montreal Alouettes, former Stampeder, broke into the league with them, led the league in tackles in 2021 with them, went on to Saskatchewan last year, led the league in tackles with them as well. Played in the XFL for a bit this year, and then just signed a couple of weeks ago with Montreal. So he's going to be going against his former team here. I'm really excited to see what he can bring to this Alouettes defense. I think I saw that immediate impact last week when he was making his Alouettes debut. So excited to see how he plays down the stretch this season, and in particular this game. And then for Calgary, it's wide receiver Reggie Bagleton, who's kind of been the go-to guy this season. He's going to have to, have a big game, I think, if this team is going to, get out of the funk that they're in and go on a playoff run here. It's getting pretty close to do or die time for the Stampeders in terms of their playoff hopes, so they're going to have to rely on a guy like Bagleton to make some key plays down the stretch of this game. Now, in terms of who is going to win this game, this is probably the hardest game to predict of the week. I mean, the Edmonton BC game, I think, is very close as well. But I think that at the end of the day, Montreal has just been the more trustworthy team this year compared to Calgary. Calgary's had so many close games. They've been in practically every game, but they just don't have that composure to win late in games, and I just don't trust them here. I'm going to take the Alouettes to win 24-20 on the road in Calgary, and ultimately almost end Calgary's playoff hopes. Now moving on to the finale of Week 16 in the CFL. Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, we have the 6-7 Hamilton Tigercats visiting the 11-1 Toronto Argonauts. And I mean, very lopsided matchup on paper. The Argos are 3-0 on the season against the Ticats. 3 very decisive victories, all by 10-plus points. But things are a little bit different with this matchup. Now that the Argos have clinched first place in the East, they may, take their foot off the gas a little bit. Obviously, there's probably some motivation to sweep Hamilton in the season series, something that they have not done since 2007. So I'm very interested to see what the strategy is for Toronto in this one, and if they go all out to beat Hamilton for a 4th time this year. And Hamilton is a very different team than the one that the Argos saw on Labor Day after, wins against Ottawa and that big win last week against Winnipeg. So very interested to see how the Ticats come out and the Argos, prepare for this one. So I think it's going to be a very interesting game. In terms of the players I'm watching, for Hamilton, I'm going with Taylor Powell, quarterback. He has shown a steady improvement throughout his time as the starter this season. I think he started out pretty slow, but there were promising signs, and he started to piece together week by week, playing much better, and I think that he is currently the best option on this team's quarterback depth chart, even when Bo Levi Mitchell gets healthy again this season. And then for Toronto, I'm going with linebacker Wynton McManus, who had a massive season last year. Not as notable this year, but he still had a pretty good season. Last week, he had a massive game against Montreal. He was all over the place. Reminded me of how he played last year. So I think he's going to be a menace for the Ticats to have to deal with in this one. So I think that is a guy that I have my eye on in this one. And in terms of who is going to win this game, I could see Hamilton pulling it out, but I think at the end of the day, Toronto will like to, sweep the season series, like I said, against Hamilton. Again, the strategy could be different than what we foresee in this one, but I think at the end of the day, I think Toronto ultimately, the gap between these two teams is a little bit too wide, and I'm going to take the Argos to win this game 28-21 at BMO Field. But with that said, that is just your preview for Week 16 of the 2023 CFL season. Be sure to let me know your picks down below, and with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.